All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a video titled Most Men Numb Themselves at 8 p.m. every night. Super excited to get into this. Full video is going to be in the description. Let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Most people numb themselves every single night after 8 p.m. They're just counting down the minutes until they can fall asleep and all their problems go away. If that's you, this is the right video at the right time. So right now I'm driving and the sun is still out, but like you, I like to watch videos when I'm about to go to bed. Usually when I eat dinner, usually at the end of the day. And videos are very therapeutic for me, you know? Like, you put on a podcast in the background while you're driving home from work. Maybe you like to sit down with your hot food and watch a quick 15-minute video. But a lot of us actually really struggle with our mental health. And YouTube or video games or social media, porn, whatever it is that you use as like a vice is really just that. It's a vice. It's an escape, and it's something that you do for as long as you need to numb yourself until the lights go off and it's bye-bye. And I remember for years, sleep was the best part of my day. Sometimes I still feel like that. Life's fucking hard, man. You got issues.
I felt that way when I was working 60 hours a week driving a box truck. It's like my favorite part was going to sleep, and it was like one of the worst parts because if you get, I'm sure all of us here sleeps. It's like the moment you actually fall asleep, you're right back up again. And so it's like, and I told myself, I was like, I can't do this for years. So I applaud him for doing that for years, and I applaud you guys as well if you've been doing that for years. I was like, there's no way I could suffer for that long.
Issues with your girl, you got issues with your job, maybe you're grieving from loss, or you have some kind of awful weight you carry on your shoulders that just eats you away. And the only way you know how to deal with it is to suppress it, to eat it. Just fucking deal with it, because that's what men do. We just deal with our shit. And there's two trails of thought there. One, that is what men do. There were men way harder than us with way worse problems that dealt with way fucking more than we can even imagine. Never complained, just did it, because that's what men are. The problem is, I have this problem and you have this problem too. We're soft because society and our parents allowed us to be. We grew up in a world where we didn't have to fight for food or stand in line to get fresh water. Our families were usually able to raise us in a household where our parents were together, and we didn't have to worry about getting poisoned or killed by.
And I'm going to slightly disagree with that as I speed him up a little bit. I'm going to slightly disagree with what he's talking about, because I don't think the solution is you just have to be a tougher, harder, more masculine dude. It's like, how about we set up an environment that we can actually solve these issues, solve these problems? A lot of people's mental health is garbage because we have no time. The environment does not help you solve these issues. In fact, what it does is it says you have 2 hours, and by the way, those 2 hours were the only 2 hours that you have, which are usually scheduled for your free time. So really what you have is a choice: fix your mental health or use those 2 hours to do whatever it is that you would like to do, because the rest of the 22 hours of your day belongs to other people and errands that you have to do every single day. And so I'm not surprised that the average person is saying, I'm not going to work on this for 2 hours, because again, it's not 2 hours where it's like, oh, let me just think about sunshines and rainbows and this is going to solve itself. No, it's more work on top of all of the other work that you have to do. And so a lot of people are like, I would rather just suppress it because at least I get to enjoy my Netflix. At least I get to smoke. At least I get to drink. At least I get to watch porn. Whatever it is that you do. And we all know, we're all adults. This may not be the healthiest, but it's like, again, it's like either that or you could spend 2 hours doing more work on top of the pile of work and problems and things that you already have going on.
By the neighboring tribe, so it made us pretty soft. But I guarantee all the guys that were growing up in brutal times where they had nothing were much more harder and able to deal with shit much better. A close friend of mine, it's very hard for me to talk to him because he's always so relaxed about everything. You know, I'll have some awful thing happen to me and I'll tell him about it and he'll just be like, yeah, it is what it is, man. And I'm like, man, I don't even want to tell you shit because you're just going to say it is what it is. But he is right, you know? It is what it is. But that's because he grew up in a fucking war-torn country where him and his family had to line up for food every day. And they thought they were going to die. When they went to sleep, they would pray and hope that nothing fell on their rooftop. So now, living in a country like Canada, where you have high-speed internet, shelter, clean drinking water, and yeah, the government's pretty fucked. They do some pretty corrupt, evil things, and taxes are high, and a lot of people are annoying with the woke stuff. But like, realistically, that's way better than the country he was in and the lifestyle he used to live. So it makes total sense why he's okay with stuff. And you know what? He doesn't have any vices. He can sit there by himself, happy, and not have to worry about anything. But the people that need to fucking numb themselves with video games, with Instagram, with dating apps, with jerking off, it's tough because like they almost don't know any better. Like I know a lot of people personally that despite the fact they're like 26 years old, 30 years old, they still play video games every night. They still don't approach and talk to women in real life. They still don't have any meaningful friendships. They don't have any hobbies. They work fucking jobs they don't care about. And they have like no level of self-responsibility. And you're probably asking me, Denmo, why the fuck are you hanging out with these guys? Because I grew up with them. And I consider them blood. And I know that sounds weird, but like, yeah, I like to take care of people that are broken because I used to be broken too. But what it really is unhappiness. That's all it is, man. When you're happy, you don't need all this stimulation all the time. And I just, from experience myself, when I was so lonely and not enjoying life, I remember actually feeling relieved that I could just make it till like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you know? If there were days where I wanted to end everything and never wake up again, I'm like, you know what? As long as I can make till like 7 o'clock, I can eat a big meal, and then I can put on some random shit to distract me on TV, scroll on my phone, and then by 10 or 11, I'll be so tired I'll pass out. And then finally I can escape from this world. And that sounds dark, because it's true. And I know a lot of you guys feel the same way. You won't admit it, you won't take a fucking camera out in your car and drive around and talk about it or share it with people, but that's so true, man. I used to numb myself every night.
And something that I don't think he's mentioning that, and a lot of guys like this don't really mention this, it's like most men, he said it comes from unhappiness. And just from coaching a lot of men who are in these situations, usually it's not coming from unhappiness, but it's coming from the opposite, which is if you were to give them all the money, if you were to give them all the things that they were looking for, and they're living a normal, average, everyday life, this is the thing that they would be doing. They would be playing video games. They would be whacking off the corn. They would be, you know what I'm saying? All the things that they're doing, doing drugs or drinking. This is the thing that they would do. This is like their normal, like, oh yeah, this is fine. I'm okay with this. You understand? Not everybody wants to build a multi-million-dollar business. Not everybody wants to save the world and beat cancer. Not everybody wants to do all these grand things that society tells you that you have to do, move up in the ranks, have a family, yada yada. Most people are like, yeah, that'd be cool, but it's like their normal, average, day-to-day life. They would like to numb themselves. It just is what it is. And it's like you can't program people to want something that they don't want. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are like, oh, I feel bad for them. And it's like, why? That's what they want.
Usually 7 or 8 o'clock. After that, I don't expect anybody to call me, no girl to text, or if I did have a girl, I just wouldn't reply to her because I was so depressed I just didn't give a fuck. And then that was that, man. Numb time. And maybe you guys are in numb time right now. Comment down below, what time is it for you that you're watching this video right now? And what is your numb time? You know, my numb time was always 8 o'clock. Another thing I used to do, guys, this is hard to admit, I had a binge eating problem. And you would look at me and be like, what do you mean you have a binge eating problem, dog? You should be way bigger and fatter than you are. But no, I'm a diabetic. So essentially most of my proteins just get pissed out of my body. So even though I was eating 3,000 calories plus a day and like, you know, lifting weights and stuff, I just wouldn't gain weight. And it's because I wasn't managing my blood sugar properly, right? And I was eating the wrong foods. So it's mostly like sugar, carbs and stuff. But the reason I did that, even though I knew it was bad for me, is because I'm impulsive. But I was in pain. And for me, eating myself into a food coma every night was what I used to numb myself. You know, I'd get home, I'd work all day, see my girl, grind on my business, whatever. Even when I was getting lots of views on YouTube, even when I was banging all the time, even when I had like a bunch of money coming in, something was still missing and I would just numb myself. And that's what I would do. You know, I took pride in the fact that I didn't drink or do any substances, I never played video games, never like was addicted to any kind of like internet porn or any shit like that. And I thought I was better than everybody else. I'm like, oh, I'm the shit, right? I'm addicted to poon. I'm addicted to my purpose. But no, each night, heavy carb. I'm talking like I'd eat a whole pizza to myself. I'd eat like fucking hamburgers, fries. I'd get dessert. I had this thing where I needed to have dessert after my meal. Like, even though I was full, I would need to have something sweet after. And that's what I do every night. And I know you're not supposed to eat late at night. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into a video talking about my binge eating problem, but like, the point I'm making is I was fucking numbing myself, and it took me years to realize what I was doing. Because from the outside looking in, you see somebody eating a bunch of food and they're skinny, and you're like, oh, that's fine. But if you saw one of your buddies like getting chunky and fat and they're eating all the time, you'd be like, bro, you gotta chill. What are you doing? So that's why like nobody ever noticed it until I started dating a girl that was a doctor. And she's like, whoa, wait a second. Like, do you manage your blood sugar at all? And I was like, no. She's like, man, you're like killing your insides right now. And that kind of opened me up to the idea of like taking care of my health a little bit more, because, you know, I was just choosing to be ignorant. But for me, there was a sense of comfort and security in that numbness that I got when I ate food. Because it was like, you know, when you eat so much food, you actually feel tired and you need to nap. That's what I would do every night. It would help me fall asleep, because what I was afraid of was being awake with my thoughts. And I think you're afraid of that too. That's why you play video games. That's why you jerk off. That's why you go on social media. That's why you need to like constantly be working on something, because our own thoughts and our own insecurities are fucking terrifying. And we would rather numb ourselves than deal with them. And that was my way of doing it, food. And guess what? It fell into the exact same thing I'm telling you about in this video. 8 p.m. numb sesh. You eat at 8, play video games at 8. After an hour or two, by the time it's all said and done, you're tired, it's getting late. You've already scrolled the fucking front page of Reddit 30 times or whatever it is you're doing. You've already refreshed your Instagram, Snapchat. Your girl's asleep so you can't text her back. Your buddies, I mean, honestly, friends, I know guys still to this day that are up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I have no idea what the fuck they're doing. I have a feeling they have some deep shit that they're dealing with, but they still haven't come around to the idea that they can change their habits. Like the whole idea of like waking up at 10 a.m. every day. Never understood that. But yeah, man, I think, I want to say at least 60, 70% of men our age, Gen Z, millennial, whatever, are numbing themselves every night. 8 o'clock is numb time. And if you have to numb yourself every night just to get through your day, I think that's a sign of a huge fucking underlying problem. And if I had to guess, it's a purpose problem. Because if you are depressed, or you feel like you're lacking actual meaning in life, fulfillment, purpose as I call it, like something you genuinely care about, a way to provide value to others that also makes you money, you're gonna try and numb that shit with everything you can. You can distract yourself with concerts, you can distract yourself with sex. I know a lot of guys that are fucking depressed, but they're just like, oh, if I get a girlfriend now, I'll feel good. You know why? Because having a girl that gives you attention and loves you is the same amazing feeling you get from your mother and your grandmother when you're a kid. A lot of us just find a way to numb ourselves instead of actually solving the one big problem. And that one big problem is usually your purpose. By the way, the huge caveat here is ... until you have kids. I don't have kids, but all the friends of mine that do, as well as, you know, my parents, everybody I've talked to that has kids, once they have kids, now you understand what your purpose is. Now you're like, oh, I need to take care of this person. I need to provide for them, protect them. You can kind of get that with friends, and I think that honestly, the reason I made this whole channel and help everybody the way I do is because I just have baby fever. So you guys are lucky I don't have kids right now, because otherwise they'd be getting all this love. Yeah, until you have kids, you're in your prime, you got your time, energy, focus, and you need to put it somewhere. But if you don't have anywhere to put it, that's when it goes to drugs, that's when it goes to women, that's when it goes to video games, that's when it goes to watching YouTube videos. Like you watching this video right now, I'm gonna go out on a limb. You're in your early 20s and you don't know what you want to do, or you fucked everything up in your 20s and now you feel like it's too late and you need this inspiration, and it's numb time right now. You just ate some food and you're like, oh, I wonder what Denmo says about this. We're all going through this. It's the same thing, man. So as somebody that,
and that's the thing that I want to mention on. It's like this is what I learned just having a bunch of conversations with men. It's like, and I get where he's coming from, right? Especially if you're like a young guy, right? You're in your late teens, early 20s. It's like, okay, you don't know yourself. You haven't been through anything. And so you just numb yourself, and what you really should be doing is trying to be the best version of yourself, getting all this information. That way you can set up your late 20s, 30s, 40s, and then so forth and so on. But for the guys who 26 plus, you know what I'm saying, in your 30s, in your 40s, and your 50s, you know yourself enough to say, like, if I had the free time, if I had the money, if I had the girl, if I had this thing that's less than kids, right? If I had all these things, this is what I would be doing. I would be drinking, I would be smoking, I would be fishing, I would be hunting, I would be watching corn, I would be doing all these things that, whether it's good or bad in society's eyes, this is what I would be doing, right? Because again, when we noticed that he was talking about, he had a girlfriend or wife, I don't know what he called her. He had his business. You know what I'm saying? He was working on his fitness and everything else. And again, even with all those positive habits, at night, he would still be consuming all that garbage, right? And again, it was because it was something that he wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I know he said that he was trying to numb and like escape his thoughts, but I'm like, bro, what thoughts? You know what I'm saying? What insecurities? You're doing all of these positive habits. You know what I'm saying? And I think like a lot of people just miss the point where it's like, bro, if I gave you everything and I gave you 24 hours in a day, most people would live really basic, average lives where they're just doing the things that they want to do, whether that's habits that decrease their life expectancy or increase their life expectancy.
That has found his purpose, you know, multiple times. What I noticed was when I was like finding out all this for the first time and I was super productive, whether I was running my business or I was doing YouTube videos, I didn't numb myself at 8 o'clock because I'd done enough that day where I felt good. And I was actually so excited to wake up the next day and get back to work that I would just try to fall asleep as soon as possible so I could wake up, or I'd keep working. So what I'm saying is, like, the way to know that you have found the right thing to do, the right mission, the right hobby, is you don't feel the need to numb yourself at 8 o'clock every night. You're just like, actually, I want to keep working. Or, oh, I want to sign up for this group. Like, I remember at one point I started doing kickboxing. And, dude, I wish it was earlier just because I didn't like messing with my sleep schedule, but a lot of the classes were like 8 p.m. at night. So instead of like numbing myself with junk food, I had to be like, fuck, I got to go to kickboxing at 8 p.m. So I got to make sure I eat super healthy a couple hours before so that I don't puke all over my sparring partners. And then do fucking hard ass exercise for an hour, come home, and I'll be so tired and exhausted from like kicking the shit out of my sparring partners. I'll sleep like a baby and I'll feel good. And I don't need to numb myself because I put in enough blood, sweat, and tears that day. And that's the point I'm making. You know, when you work your ass off all day, you don't need to escape. You don't need to numb yourself. In fact, you need to calm your body down so you can sleep because you're enjoying what you're doing so much since it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. And you're just juicing for it to start all over again the next day. But if you're numbing yourself every night, long term, what this is telling me is you don't like what you're doing. You don't like your life. You don't like your job. And that's usually the big one, man. Your job, your purpose, your calling. Some of you guys, you pick a job, it pays good. You can go fishing and camping and watch hockey on the weekends. And that's enough for you because you got a good family, you got a girl and all that. Sometimes I look at that life and I'm like, man, I wish I had that. But sometimes you're like me and the universe is just like, nah, man, you got other shit you got to do. And they just pull a fucking purpose out of you. You want to have a normal job. You want to be able to just be happy making 50, 100K a year, whatever. But you're just like, no, I have something so much more I need to do. And maybe it's like spiritual, maybe it's like narcissism, maybe it's childhood trauma. But that's what I got, purpose, an underlying ambition. And I think it can be trained. I think you can become this way. There was definitely times where I was like working jobs where I just felt relaxed. You know, I remember I had a job in a factory, and as much as I shit on that job, I actually enjoyed it because by the time I got off work at like 7 or 8 o'clock, I was so fucking tired that I could just come home, take my boots off, sit on the couch, and pass out like an hour and a half later. And suffering in the cold ass fridge, chopping up birds all day, to going to a warm house with a nice meal and a phone that I could scroll on and a TV I could put on a show in the background, and it would be like the worst show ever, like some reality TV, and I'm just like, wow, this is so great because I just spent 12 hours in the factory. I actually felt good doing that, you know, because your body adapts very quickly to whatever environment you're in. So right now, if you feel like life's just a fucking gong show, dude, you're gonna adapt to it and you're actually gonna get comfortable. And I know that sounds crazy, but like, our bodies are just made to adapt to stuff. So what I'm saying is like, you might know you should be doing something else and you've already adapted to it because it's safe and it makes you feel comfortable, but you do know you can achieve more. You gotta lean into that discomfort. You gotta lean into the thing that feels risky. You gotta lean into the thing that like seems like something that might not work out, because that's the only way you'll know. And I think what happens is when you know you should be doing something, but you're avoiding it, you almost need to like physically convince yourself that you're too tired or don't have the energy. And that's when you just numb yourself at 8 o'clock every night. Damn, we got fucking deep there. Part of me hopes that this video really resonated with you, and I am right. But part of me also hopes that you watch this video and you're like, wow, Demo, that's cool, but like, I'm happy every night. I hope so, man, because I don't want you to look back on your 20s or your 30s or whatever decade you're in right now and be like, wow, every night I was fucking numbing myself for the last 3 hours before I go to sleep. Think about all the other things you could be doing. And also think about the underlying feelings you have or problems in your life that you could solve, that you're avoiding and suppressing every single night before you go to bed. Yeah, it's a lot to leave you with. So on a positive note, I have a group where I do weekly calls. It's a men.
Okay, so that's gonna be his video, and so I want to chime this in, right? So a little bit about me. I've studied personal development and self-improvement for the past 11, 12 years now, right? You probably look at me and don't even, that doesn't even cross your mind, but I have. And the reason why I say that is because it makes a lot of sense that most guys are lost when it comes to the timeline of their entire life and the things that they care about. So let me break this down in the simplest way possible. First things first, you're introduced into society and you have to learn the rules and the regulations and all this other stuff, how the world works. That's going to last you until roughly about 16 to 18. Once you're 16 to 18, most guys are like, oh, I'm lost, because they don't realize that they have to turn their mental or physical capabilities and gather as much resources as possible so you can be more attractive to attract a mate. And when you're able to do that successfully and you're building up your assets and you're building up your business, you're going to be in his situation, which is right now he has baby fever, because the whole reason why you're gathering all these resources is, one, to attract a hot girl, or at least one that you find hot, and two, to have a family to where you can spread all these resources out. And then once you're in that family life, you're doing the same thing, raising your family, gathering as much resources as you can, taking those resources and spending them on your family and spending them on the community, because you realize that it takes a village to raise your kids, and you don't want to be sending them to a place that gives them the opposite teachings that you want to teach them. And so now you're more community driven, and now you're an old man, and then you're old man, you want to give wisdom to the young folk, which is why if you've ever had a conversation with old guys, they always want to tell you a story. They always want to give you some slice of wisdom. And if you're a good guy or you're young, you'll just sit there and listen to them. But again, that's your whole life. And so again, all these underlying desires of like, oh, I'm upset and I'm numbing myself because I know I should be doing more. Yeah, because you're in the resource gathering phase. You understand? And now he's at the point where he's like, I have baby fever, right? So the next thing he's gonna do is start a family. This is like the human condition. This is what we all go through as men, and until we have children, and then they grow up, and then we die. You understand? And so I just want to say that understand where you're at in your cycle, and that's the reason why you have these cravings or you have this escapism or things of that nature, because you don't feel like you're committing to the obligation that's been wired into you for the past God knows how many years. And now we're reached to the point where some guys are just like, I'd rather just do whatever it is that I want to do. And so they're not having that feeling, and they completely kick that feeling to the curb, because they're like, I don't want to have a family. I don't want to have any of the other stuff. I don't want to be some old guy who tells a bunch of stories, right? So just understand that if you relate to this video, just understand it's because wherever it is at your life, these are the reasons why, right? So I just want to throw that out there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with him? Do you guys agree with me? What are your thoughts? Okay, my thoughts, his thoughts. What are your thoughts? All right, let me know in the description or the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.